Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hi, red.olaughlin here, Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and radio network. We just finished up a six-part series on fat management. A lot of good information there on understanding what causes fat to go into a fat cell, what causes fat to come out of a fat cell, what it causes fat to burn, what stops fat from burning. That's available right now in the archives on the USA Global TV and Radio Network on YouTube. Please go there if you have any information in that area. Today, we're talking about a new topic, and it's basically something that we all should know about. Let's go ahead and get this first one loaded up here if I can figure out how to, there we go. Back too much. The area that we're going to be talking about is post-pandemic, what's our life after COVID-19. But I want to focus in specifically on for better health, because there's so many things going on in our world right now that is dominated by COVID. Number one, I am not a medical doctor, have no degrees in that area. I got 5 different academic degrees, but nothing in those areas whatsoever. However, my first degree was in chemistry. That was my first love, long before I met my wife of 54 years. And I use my chemistry background now to research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, you fix a problem. Treat a symptom, and you'll always be treating symptoms. So as part of my research, I look at the human body and what stops this from happening? What can accelerate this if it's a good thing? And in the process of doing that, I've done a lot of study on COVID. I'll talk about that here toward the end. But the thing is, we have a lot of things out there, and there's a lot of disinformation, a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of stuff out there. And where do you go to? What do you believe in? Well, let's just go ahead and say, I want to concentrate on me and what can I do to make my life better. So part of what I want to do is look at what is in our world that we can, in fact, improve ourselves. So I'll be looking at, begin with just a few definitions. Then I'll be spending a lot of time in assessing where are we? Do we know where we're going? And then after that, so let's go ahead and jump into this thing. Post-pandemic. What do I mean by post-pandemic? I'm saying it's the absence. We no longer are concerned about becoming infected. We no longer have anxiety about being isolated or infecting other people. The freedom we used to have for our daily relationships, whether it be at work, at social events, at home, at whatever family events, it's like we never had a disruption in that. And I said the probable cause, but really it's not a probable cause. It's the true belief that our future is better. Right now, we know that the vaccines don't work. They work they're a Band-Aid. They work for about 6, 8, 9 months, and they're relatively effective. Then the booster comes along, and that's good for a couple months, maybe a little bit longer. But you don't want to be getting a booster shot for the next 5 or 6 years. And the good news is there's over 130 vaccines that have been being worked since probably very, very close to the time that the first mRNA vaccines came out. And those vaccines are being tested a lot more than the very first ones. Obviously, the 5-year test is there for a reason when you're doing clinical studies. But we also had a lot of people dying. A lot of hospitals are overrun. There was a need to release the vaccine. It appeared to be a panacea for what was going on, but it does not work. And it set a mindset that people said, I'm vaccinated, I don't have to worry about anything. And so you start becoming a little looser with your relationships and everything else. And then all of a sudden you find out, well, I'm vaccinated, but I just came down with with the virus. We just saw that recently with the president and his wife. They've been vaccinated, boosted, 4, 5, 6 times, whatever it is. They've had the maximum number And he came down. He came down with it. She came down with it. Okay, I'm fine. Came down with it again. The virus is something. Yes, it is a serious thing. But what is serious? Uh, and in the seriousness of it, how serious is something when 99.8% of the people survive? Now, 99.6% of the people survive fine, absolutely no problem at all. We just got off the Wise Ones episode here on the USA Global TV and Radio Network with Dr. Stan Harris, also known as Dr. Breakthrough. A year ago, he was in the hospital for 11 days in a coma, part of that. He had a very severe, very serious reaction to the COVID virus, and it took him literally 11 and a half months to get back to normal. That is not what I consider one of those, yeah, you had the 99% survival. He had to work to make it happen. Uh, so that's post-pandemic. That's the time frame I'm talking about. Could that happen in a year? Possibly. Realistically, 2 to 3. That's when I think the next vaccines are coming out that will probably be very effective, and we'll see less and less of a problem. What is health? Health is the state of complete mental, physical, emotional, social well-being. It's just not having a disease or some kind of infirmity. It's really being in top shape. And we think about physically most of the time. We rarely think about mental and emotional when we say, I'm healthy. It's not one of those things that just jumps in our minds. And social well-being is another one that we don't usually think of with regard to health. But if we're trying to lock in what is a true definition of health, it's a combination of things. And wellness is even a bigger one than that. Wellness, if I'm looking at your health and wellness, wellness is really it's something that's happening, but it's continuing to happen. It's not one that you actually reach. It's we achieve it and then it's continuing to go. But the definition that I found that I kind of put several of them together, but it's reaching one's fullest potential with regard to the emotional, environmental, financial, intellectual, occupational, physical, social, and spiritual worlds around us. The wellness in each one of those. For my definition for post pandemic planning for better health, I am only looking at the physical. We have financial, we have spiritual, we have intellectual, we have all those other ones. We may be touching a little bit on emotional, but I'm really looking at the physical health that we have. So when I say health and wellness, I'm sticking pretty much with that true health part of that thing. So where do you start? Well, part of making any journey anywhere is knowing where you are. If you're setting your GPS and you're setting it to the location you're at and you're going to go somewhere, well, you know where you're at. Well, if I were to ask the question, well, how healthy are you? Well, I'm in pretty good shape. Well, how do you measure that? Well, I feel good. Well, what's the probability you'll be alive a year from now? Well, it depends on your age. It depends on a lot of other factors. But part of our health is based on a continual assessment of where we are today. Annual physicals, that's one of them. I'm going to talk about each one of these in a little bit more detail. But our medications that we take, whatever foods that we choose to eat, exercise programs, where are we with regard to carrying extra weight? What really stresses us out? What is affecting our sleep? We have a lot of habits. Smoking alcohol is obviously part of any kind of health regimen. Media attention, something we don't think about very often, but it really, particularly with COVID-19, media is a main part of our health, believe it or not. Situational awareness. You walk into a store 2-3 years ago, and we didn't think about standing right there having a conversation with somebody. Now we got masks on and you're 6 feet away. You're more aware that somebody 10 feet away is coughing up a storm. Our anxiety, a lot of issues there. And obviously the virus itself. Okay, let's talk about our current assessment with regard to annual physicals. I have not missed an annual physical since 1968. I got one for the military, and then I've had an annual flight physical every year until I retired in 1999. And I just kept the annual physicals up ever since then. Not missed one, not as exhaustive as a flight physical, but still pretty much so. But why I do it because I want to know where I'm at. I want a baseline so that if something changes, I know it changed. If I had a certain reading in a blood test and it was the last 5 years is always here, and then all of a sudden now it's up here. Is that good or bad? What caused it? What can I do to bring it back down here if that's where it needs to be? If something is below, how do I bring it up? I want to know, and I want to know more than what the doctor's telling me. Yeah, they're going to give me some regular blood tests, but we'll talk more about that down the road. But if you're not getting an annual physical, is it because you don't have the time, which is hard to believe nowadays with virtual everything? Money, I can understand, is an issue. There's just a lot of things out there, but it may not be a priority. And until it becomes something that you want in your life, it's probably not going to be a priority. So the why of why do I want to have good health after COVID is over, after our current pandemic has passed, that needs to be in there. You need a baseline of where are you today so that you can make adjustments down the road. What medications are you on right now? Should you be on all of them? If you were put on one for high blood pressure, are there other things you can do? Increase your um, exercise program, uh, lose some weight. Are there things that you can do to get off some of your medicines, or can you do something to reduce the dosage of the medicines so that they're not playing a major part in any side effects that can contribute to not feeling well, not being 100%? Um, and the same thing applies to supplements. We have a lot of supplements out there. People rely on them, but sometimes just take because you take a supplement doesn't mean you get the value out of it. Perfect example: vitamin B12 is found in a lot of the multivitamins, multi mineral supplements, but B12 can't pass through stomach acid; it destroys it. So yeah, it says B12 on the outside, but it's worthless because you're not getting any. Uh, Vitamin E is 8 different chemicals, but you're not getting 8 different chemicals when it says vitamin E on there. You're usually getting one, and it's usually a synthetic, which really is not much value at all as far as being a health um, improver for what you need. And what are you not getting supplemental wise that you need? Um, is there something going on in your life that you really need a supplement and you don't even know that it exists? Um, were you doing something a while back? I mean, it's just a lot of questions in there with regard to any kind of prescription medicine, any kind of over the counter medicine. Um, One of my brothers was taking over the counter pain relievers for headaches for years and years and years and years. Uh, had severe migraines, just would not go to the doctor. Uh, he'd spent months overseas, came back home, and within 2 or 3 days died of a stroke. Um, could it have been caught? Well, he had an aneurysm. I'm sure it probably could have been. But again, if you avoid the doctors for whatever reason, you have to live with the consequences. But what are you taking that you need? Can you do something to take less of it? And I'm not necessarily talking about vitamin E or something else. I'm talking about something in there that might be required for whatever condition that you have. And then, are you getting everything you need? And why are you getting it from a supplement and not from some kind of food? I prefer to get everything that I need in my body, 30, 32 nutrients on a daily basis from the foods that I eat. Speaking of foods, what's your current diet? Is it colorful? Do you have stuff in there that's green and yellow and or is it all brown or light tan or white? What is your diet consist of? What do you eat? How often? You eat 3, 4, 5, 6 meals a day? Um, do you eat one meal a day? Is it balanced? Do you have a lot of everything that you need? And how do you know what you need? That's part of becoming educated on your health as to what do I really need to become super healthy? And we'll be talking about this down the road. Uh, if you're taking a supplement, is it for a particular reason? I take a couple supplements because I can't find the foods that I want, or I don't want to eat those particular foods. Vitamin K2 is a big food thing for me. I need a particular monoquinone in there for a project that I'm working on in my body to reduce the plaque in my heart, valves, and arteries. So I want vitamin K2 with extremely high levels of monoquinone 4. And so when I supplement, I go out and I find something that has 45,000 micrograms of monoquinone 4. That's a specific reason for what I'm doing that. Yes, my doctor's aware of it. We're in total agreement that that's what we're doing. Vitamin E is another one. I want all eight molecules of vitamin E. You get 4 tocopherols and 4 tocotrienols. You literally have that much alpha tocotrienol in your brain, you probably wouldn't have any side effects if you ever had a stroke. It's one of those things that causes angiogenesis. It opens blood vessels around a blockage instantly so that you're not sitting there with half your body frozen or inability to speak or move or whatever. So it's really important you get that. No single food has all 8 of them in there. But if you take a supplement that does have the mixed tocopherols and mixed tocotrienols, you do have now the ability to supplement and actually end up with a lot more. How much control do you have over your diet? Are you fixing your meals at home? Are you eating out a lot? Do you have a choice? Um, and what are you really missing right now in your current diet? Are you eating the things that have vitamin E in it, vitamin K2? It's just one of those things. So you really need to know, where are you today, and what you're eating is a good place. So why don't you just write out today what you're actually eating, every single thing you're eating, what is, and that way in a week or 2 weeks you can come back and now you have a really good assessment. Okay, well, I had this and I had that, but I didn't have, now it's no longer thinking about it. You actually have it written down. Okay, fat and weight percentage. We jump on the scale. Okay, I'm 20 pounds overweight, or I'm 2 pounds overweight, whatever it is. But is that really an indication of how healthy you are? Are you carrying an extra 10% more fat than you need? Uh, just recently, I guess a little over a month ago, I bought a machine, $20. You stand on, it's just like a scale, but it measures, oh my goodness, here, let's see if I can pull it up real quickly. It measures so many different things on your, okay, there it is. I'm not planned on doing this, but if I look at my charts, it measures my weight, obviously, basal BMI, which is not really an individual measurement. We'll go down the other. It measures body fat, measures a body water percentage, skeletal muscle percentage, basal metabolic rate, fat-free body weight, subcutaneous fat percentage, visceral fat, muscle mass, bone mass, protein percentage, and it also gives me a body age based on all those things. That's $20 for the machine. I went on, so I want to know. So I did a little bit of research. I found several things out there, did some more research, and I bought it. The information's available. I do it once a week, every Monday morning. I get on there. Now I have a chart that shows things going up, going down, but I know where I am. I know the direction, the trend I'm going in, so that if I'm not actually taking action, I increase this, I reduce this, I can see the effect it has. So I know a lot more about my health with a simple app. It's amazing what they have now. A friend of mine has an app on his phone that he uses to do EKGs. I talked to my cardiologist's office the other day. Yes, they're aware of it, but no, they don't have a particular app they like to use. So I'm gonna set mine up, and I'm gonna take it over there. And I'm gonna show them. But there's so many things you can measure nowadays. It's unbelievable. But what are you measuring? How do you track it? How often? Do you have a particular goal in mind? So in other words, if I want to lose fat, it's a whole lot easier to tell the subconscious mind I want to lose inches of fat than it is pounds of weight, because we have a lot of failure many times with diets on losing weight, and our subconscious mind, it sabotages us. It really prevents us from doing that. But if you don't have a goal of losing inches of fat, because the brain has never really thought that way before, that might be a different way of looking at things. So what is your current goal? Do you want to lose, from 30% body fat to 22% body fat? Okay, that's a goal. Does your diet support that? Does your activities, your exercise regimens, all those kind of things, are they in line to make that goal happen? Some kinds of exercises really do work well for fat loss. Others work well for cardiovascular. But as we get older, we want more strength. We want more balance. We want more flexibility. A lot of different ways to go. And so what are those activities? A lot of times when you're overweight, we have self-esteem issues, and that can be a major part of a mental or emotional issue. Do we have any family history, genetic concerns? Genes account generally for about 5%, maybe 8% on occasion, but epigenetics, the lifestyle choices we make, can control those. What about stress? What stresses you out? Do you even know what stresses you out? Can you feel it? Most people, they feel the uneasiness of being around someone or something that is there, particularly with COVID. I'm sure somebody walks in, they're not wearing a mask. You can feel your stress levels going up. Traffic is one that stresses everybody. You put those extra 10 or 15 pounds on during COVID, during the pandemic, that's another reason for stress. Most of the time, you cannot feel it. But how do you manage stress? Well, Dr. Google and Dr. YouTube have a lot of good information, but the information's only there, only valuable to you if you use it. And then how is it affecting your life? Can you actually say it's causing sleep issues? It's causing relationship issues. I'm having problems at work, whatever it is. I know that when I had people working for me who are going through divorce, that's a big, big, big stress level. And you can see it in the relationships around. But understanding what other people are going through sometimes makes it easier to deal with it. Uh, but again, it's just part of life. Stress has a major problem with sleep. If we're not being able to get to sleep because our brains are just totally focused on, is this going to happen? Is it not going to happen? What's it going to? That is a stress issue. You need to control that one. Is our sleep consistent? That's where our body repairs itself. That is where everything that happens to us during the day, our body has a chance to catch up and do the things it needs to do. So sleep is super important. But the quality of sleep is really the thing that's more important than anything else. Not just getting 8 hours sleep. You want to get a quality of sleep. Do you have lights on in your room? Do you watch TV as you're going to bed? Do you watch TV in bed? Are you looking at your cell phone, half hour checking on things? Are you looking at the news just so you're up to date before you go to bed? A lot of things in the news are not what you need to do just before you go to bed. So what are you doing before you? Are you having a couple glasses of wine before you go to bed? Are you eating a late meal? How big is the meal? Are you taking sleeping pills? There's so many things that can be asked regarding sleep. EFT I use particularly when I was flying a lot to go from this time zone to Bahrain or from this time zone over to Korea with the military, and I come back and you'd be 10 or 15, a good 10 time zones out of whack, and they say it takes about a day for every time zone to get back to normal. I could do an EFT session, 8, 10, 15 minutes, and generally get some really, really good sleep that night. But if you don't know what EFT is, emotional freedom techniques, but there are other ways of being able to compensate for those things. But sleep, if you had to pick one thing to work on initially for your new life after COVID, the quality of sleep might be one of the best returns on your investment. It doesn't cost you very much, but it really has a major return. Are you a smoker? You shouldn't be. Same thing goes with all the other tobacco products. Cessation is hard. It's an addiction. Yeah. Enough said. I don't need to go any further in that one. Just alcohol. A lot of studies say 1 glass, 2 glasses a night, depending on male, female, whatever, is good for you. If you're going to be changing your life, maybe you need to do a 30-day cleanse from alcohol, uh, and then maybe go back on it incrementally. But what is your current usage on that? Are you 2 pack a day smoker and now you're down to a half? At some point in time, it'd be nice to be off everything. If you're not smoking, disregard. But alcohol, it's something that's easy to overdo. How many times have you tried changing? Stop smoking, stop alcohol. Every failure you have is logged in your subconscious mind, and that becomes a mountain to overcome as you're doing something in the future. So your subconscious mind, with regard to the habits you currently have, is something to understand how the subconscious mind works, so that you have an advantage in being able to, as Dr. Breakthrough Tebna mentioned in the last session, to break through that particular habit. Media attention. What are you watching TV? How often are you watching TV? Is it all news? And where's it coming from? Is it all? I mean, if you're watching network news, it's doom and gloom. If it bleeds, it leads. It's everything in there is meant to get your attention. It's stress. It's the maximum you can get. And if you have to stay up and watch the 10 o'clock news before you go to bed because for whatever reason you've been doing it for 20 years and you can't get out of the habit, maybe it's time to take a 30-day vacation from media. Pretend like you're in Bora Bora, Tahiti, and there is no electricity, and you have to literally just enjoy life. But take a look at the sources of your information. Are they really and truly good sources? Now, depending on your personal perspective and your beliefs, somebody can say this is a perfect one for me, and other ones can say that's just total BS. It's just so again, it's a personal thing, but I'm not having a judgment on that. I'm saying calm it down a lot so that particularly the last 6 hours of your day before you go to sleep, that is something that's minimally affecting what's going on in your world. Anxiety, particularly with the virus, we've had so many things. And how do you even know that you have anxiety? We kind of think we might be depressed periodically, but foods can do that. Our focus is not quite the same. We're a little bit more irritable than before. Maybe we're just fatigued more often. Got the headaches, a lot of aches, muscle, stomach, etc. Sleep problem. That's probably one of the earliest indicators of a problem. You're not getting good sleep. Is your relationship with your spouse, your friends, your coworkers, your uh, anybody that you typically, how is that going? Is it improving, staying the same, getting worse? Are you eating more? Do you need that comfort food? A lot of things in there. Try to, okay, I'm not feeling good. I need ice cream. Uh, anyway, again, we're trying to assess where are we now so we can make changes. The virus, um, the SARS-CoV-2 virus is, you know, it's an amazing piece of work, particularly the way it mutates, particularly the way it incapacitates. It'd be a perfect biological warfare agent because it incapacitates an entire group of people without killing them. Yeah, there's still that 0.5% of people, particularly the older people, higher than that percentage, that are affected from it from a death perspective. But for most of the people, especially those of military age, especially those of working age, it incapacitates you so that your hospital systems are overrun. You're incapacitated for a while in what you can do. I've written over 350 articles, most of them posted on LinkedIn, all of them posted on my website. I have about 1,500 blogs that I've done there. But there's a lot of information about what is there and what you can do. And we already talked a little bit about the vaccine effectiveness, not so much for what we have right now, marginal on a good day, marginal every day after that becomes less and less effective. But I have good faith that somebody somewhere in the world, whether it be Spain, South Africa, Korea, somewhere a vaccine is going to come up and it's going to be very, very effective just because they're going through that 3 and 5 year clinical testing to make sure that everything does work the way it's supposed to. Yes, there will be more future mutations and a lot more things we don't even understand, but that's just part of any kind of health issue. Where are you going? Where do you want to go? Okay, we're here 6 months and it's been declared COVID-19 is over. Where do you want to be, particularly with your health? You know, Alice in Wonderland has this wonderful saying that when Alice is walking down this and all of a sudden the road uh, forks off in two different directions and the Cheshire Cat's up there in the tree and she looks up and says, which road do I take? And the Cheshire Cat says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will do. Well, part of goal setting is knowing where you want to go. And part of goal setting also is getting within your mind the ability to see and get there. Visualization is a big, big success when you use it properly. So we want to visualize, we want to get there. We want to know what our vision looks like. We want to be able to actually see, almost feel, almost taste where we want to go because that makes that goal achievable. But are we going to be able to give ourselves the time to do that? If I need an extra half hour a day to exercise, an extra 15 minutes a day to meditate, an extra 10 minutes a day to do some stress relief, whatever it is, am I going to give myself that time? Because that's part of what we're assessing. What do you need? Where are we now? What's going to be required? And then is this road going to get us there? If you decide to take a big step, chances are the success is going to not happen. However, incremental modifications every day, a little bit more, a little bit more, those will more than likely work far, far better than you did before. So, will you recognize when you're at your final goal? When you get to the destination, how will you know you're there? Uh, we used to have this saying we flying from Hawaii to the States, and for us, that was probably about a 10-hour flight, I'm guessing. And we just jokingly say, well, you're taking off and you're heading in a certain direction. And if all of a sudden you get to where you're seeing land and they speak Spanish, well, you flew too far south. If they speak French, which they don't in that part of Canada, you're too far north. But at least we had some way of knowing where we're at. But do we have the skills to get to our destination? Do we have the equipment that we need? I mentioned one of these fat plus measurement uh, pieces of equipment that's very, very inexpensive. Am I getting the right kind of test? If I had wanted to start out today on knowing where am I and I want a really good test, C-reactive protein, a $20 blood test at most places, would be the number one test that I want to have run because it's going to tell me the level of inflammation in my body. And that's what I need to know to be able to make a change for having good health. Am I continually learning something? Am I continually making those adjustments that I need to make in order to get to that destination? So if I'm out there and I have the right equipment and everything's working, I remember one night I'm a passenger on a plane leaving Hawaii, leaving the States, going to Hawaii military, and they're having problems with equipment, and I'm the only thing we could use was a sextant, take a couple star shots. We're 200 miles off course. That's not where you want to be in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And you have to walk. I have to walk up to the cockpit of a plane, a crew that I was not part of, and say, "We have a problem back in the back." I explained this: "I'm going to give you a 20-degree heading change, and then I'm going to come back in about another 30 minutes. And I'm going to give you another heading change, rather than make a 30 or 40-degree heading change in the middle of nowhere." So you need the right equipment. You need the skills to do that. I had one other flight where, okay, let's just for fun, just go ahead and shoot a couple of stars to make sure we get our proficiency done. Well, put the thing up there. It turns out that the sextant wasn't pre-flighted properly. It had moisture in it. All of a sudden, ice crystals formed you couldn't see a thing. So if I were down to only using a sextant to cross the Pacific, and I've done that more than a couple times just with the sextant, you really need to know that your equipment is working properly. You have the right equipment. You have the skill to use it. And what do you need in the future that you don't have today that you can start working on? So given that being that's my introduction, my overview for our next 5 weeks of post-pandemic planning for better health. Oh, hang on. I got one more slide. Here we go. Next week, let's dive into what we're actually going to be doing for each of those activities. And then if you need to get in touch with me in any way, shape, or form, red@red.olaughlin.com. Red.olaughlin.com is my website. That's RED, like the color, OLAUGHLIN.com. So red.olaughlin.com. Go there. It has my email, phone numbers, everything you need to do. And I have a couple of books here toward the end that just give you an indication. My specialty in my health and wellness is longevity. That's what I love to research. That's what I love to talk about. So next week, I'll catch up on the second part, and we'll go into some details about how do we actually start making these things happen. So from the Talking Heads presentation this week on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, I bid you adieu, and we will catch you in 7 days. Take care. Bye now.